Scalpels and Secrets, Season 1, Episode 3, Impact. At St. Luke Holy Hospital, disaster preparation was part of the job. Every doctor trained for emergencies. Every nurse practiced for mass casualty events. Everyone hoped they would never face one. On an otherwise ordinary morning, Photina Samba and Inari arrived for another shift. Neither knew the day would become one of the most important of their careers. The emergency department was busy, but manageable. Patients filled exam rooms. Doctors moved from case to case. The hospital functioned like it always did. Then everything changed. A call came into dispatch. A charter bus carrying dozens of passengers had collided with multiple vehicles on the interstate. The injuries were extensive. The casualties were unknown. Within minutes, St. Luke activated disaster protocols. Overhead speakers echoed throughout the hospital. Mass casualty event. All available personnel report immediately. The atmosphere changed instantly. Doctors ran. Nurses mobilized. Operating rooms were prepared. Trauma teams assembled. The first ambulances arrived moments later, then another. Then another. Soon the emergency department was overflowing. Patients covered in blood filled every available space. Families cried. Paramedics shouted reports. The noise was overwhelming. Photina immediately stepped into the chaos. A trauma nurse approached her. "We've got 3 critical patients and only 1 trauma bay available." Photina looked around. "Move the chest trauma patient to Bay 2. Get surgery ready for the abdominal bleed." The nurse nodded. "What about the 3rd? Photina replied without hesitation. "CT scan now. We need answers." The team moved. Within minutes, another patient arrived. Then another, then another. Photina remained focused. One frightened elderly patient grabbed her hand. "Doctor, am I going to die?" Photina looked directly into the woman's eyes. "We're going to take care of you." The woman nodded. For a moment, she seemed calmer. Elsewhere in the emergency department, Inari worked just as hard. She assessed patients, ordered tests, coordinated treatment plans. Everything was under control. Until 2 young girls arrived, the sisters appeared terrified. One was crying, the other was unconscious. For a moment, Inari froze. The noise around her disappeared. The trauma bay faded. All she could see were memories. A car, rain, flashing lights, her sisters. The memories hit her harder than she expected. A nurse called her name. "Inari?" No response. The nurse called again. "Dr. Useni." Inari blinked. Reality slowly returned. The nurse looked concerned. "Are you okay?" Inari took a breath. Then another. Finally, she nodded. "Yes." The nurse asked, "Can you continue?" Inari looked toward the injured girls. Then she straightened her shoulders. "Yes, let's help them." Slowly, she regained her focus. Patient by patient, case by case, hour by hour, she worked through the remainder of the disaster response. By nightfall, exhaustion covered every face in the hospital. The worst of the crisis had finally passed. Days later, hospital leadership gathered residents and staff for a special recognition ceremony. The disaster response had saved dozens of lives. Several residents received praise for their efforts. Photina's name came up repeatedly. One attending stood before the group and said, "Dr. Samba demonstrated exceptional leadership during the bus disaster." Another added, "Her clinical judgment was instrumental in several critical cases." Applause filled the room. Photina smiled politely. Across the room, Inari joined the applause. But something felt different. No one had ignored her contributions. No one had questioned her abilities. Yet she couldn't stop comparing herself to Photina. For years they had stood side by side, Now, it felt as though a gap was beginning to form between them. Later that evening, Photina found Inari sitting alone. Photina sat beside her. "You disappeared after the ceremony." Inari shrugged. "I just wanted some quiet." Photina studied her friend. "You did great during the disaster." Inari looked down. "Did I?" Photina frowned. "What does that mean?" Inari forced a smile. "Nothing." But it wasn't nothing. For the first time, jealousy had found a place inside their friendship. Neither woman knew it yet. But the bus collision had changed more than the lives of the patients who arrived that day. It had changed them, and the consequences were only beginning.